Davain Chesam at base, right at the top. Continue on with the discussion about creating a Pesach. Rav Yosef had another question of Rabbah. What do we have about if we have the following scenario? If a person carved out rungs, he carved out in the wall in order to extend the width of the ladder, to extend the width to now have dalat tvachim become. To what height does he have to carve out in the wall? So if you have a scenario as follows. If you have the wall and you have a sulam. Now the way Taisus explains the case is that the wall is on an incline because we have to climb up the wall. If you have a ladder that is narrow, it's not Dovid. Now, so you're carving out and extending the rungs of the ladder along the wall. You're carving into the wall so that the rungs of the ladder, it extends now from the wall to the rungs. How far up does it have to go? Do you have to go up all the way to the top of the wall? Or is it sufficient to go something less than that? How far up does it have to go? So, Omer Lei said Ba'asor. It only has to go to extend to a height of 10. Omer Lei Ba'asor. Omer Lei, Rav Yosef said to Rabbi, he said, so, or what if there was no ladder? The entire height was created through carve-outs of the wall. How far up would that have to go? So he said, if that's the case, Omer Lei, Molikim also, it has to go the full height of the wall. So Rav Yosef says, what's the difference between the two? Omer Lei Rabbi said, Hasam Mistalak Lei over there, it's easy to go to the top, it's easy to go to the top. Even though the top portion of the ladder is narrow, it's still easy to climb up. But here where you don't have a ladder, you only have the carve-outs in the wall. You don't have a ladder at all, so it's difficult to climb up. It's difficult to climb up, and you therefore have to have the width of 4 all the way up. If you have a ladder, it's easier to climb. It's easier to climb the ladder than to climb on the wall, carve-outs of the wall. So if you have the ladder and you have a base of it, which is 4, by combining the ladder with the carve-outs in the wall, then you have the ladder that extends to the top of the wall, and then we say that it's easy enough, it's accessible enough to consider it to be therefore a Pesach. But if you don't have a ladder at all, it's only the carve-outs in the wall, it's difficult to climb up. Therefore, the width of the carve-outs have to be a width of 4 all the way up to the top of the wall. Rabbi asked another question. Well, let's say he had a tree and he made the tree into a ladder. He had, through using the branches of the tree or any other type of additions that he made to it, that he made steps to the tree. So he utilizes the tree as a ladder. He made rungs in the tree, either by creating rungs or by using the branches, and he therefore made the tree into a ladder, but it's still a tree. It's still a tree growing from the ground. And as we know, there's an Isser D'Rabbanan to be mishtamish with an Elon on Shabbos. There's an Isser D'Rabbanan to use that. And now he's using the Pesach as a tree. Now we know we have a machlokes, Rebbe and the Chachamim, if they were geyser shvus bein hashmoshes. Isur D'Rabbanan, if they were geyser bein hashmoshes. And therefore, we have a machlokes between them. If a person, for his tchum, he put the bread in a tree, is it a valid tchum? Now, the tchum, for a tchum to be kosher, it has to be accessible to him at the time when you're koine shvisa, which is bein hashmoshes. Now, a tree is also used on Shabbos, but according to Rebbe, who says there were not geyser shvus bein hashmoshes, it is accessible because he can take it from the tree. They weren't geyser bein hashmoshes. According to the Rabbanon, it's also, and therefore it's not a valid tchum. What will we say in the following case? Now over here it's similar because your Pesach is a tree, and a tree is also midrabanan to climb a tree. So, however, what would be the din over here? He said, however, tiboy l'Rebbe and tiboy l'Rabbanan. But the question you have would be valid. It's a question both according to Rebbe and according to the Rabbanan. Tiboy l'Rebbe, at kan loikama Rebbe Halsam, Rebbe said over there by Tchumim, that called Dorshu mishum shvus loigozra lov hani mili ben hashmoshes. That's over, perhaps only over there by the case of Tchum, where it has to be accessible to you ben hashmoshes. And the Isser over there is not relevant ben hashmoshes. Now, the rest of the Shabbos is not really of our concern, because as long as it is accessible, bein hashmoshes, it's a kosher tchum. It's kosher for the tchum. So there, he says, it's kosher because it is accessible, bein hashmoshes. Now, it's not accessible during the rest of the Shabbos, but that's of no concern because it doesn't have to be accessible during the rest of the day. So perhaps it's only over there, Hanimile ben Hashmoshes, Aval Kula Yom Eloi, but over here, where the Isser D'Rabbanan is relevant for the whole Shabbos. And the Pesach, so there's a fundamental difference because the Pesach that we're considering over here has to be a Pesach that serves for the whole Shabbos. Over there, by the Tchum, you're kind of the Tchum ben Hashmoshes. The fact that you cannot take the bread later on during the day of the Shabbos is irrelevant. But over here, perhaps it will say that it's not defined as a Pesach unless it can serve as a Pesach for the whole day. And it can't serve for a Pesach for the whole day because you can't climb up the tree during the whole day. It's only accessible bein hashmoshes. So perhaps Rebbe would say, even though there he says it's kosher for the tchum, perhaps so he would say over here it's not a Pesach. Or maybe you could say it according to the Rabbanan, because maybe you could say over here that fundamentally it is a Pesach. It is a Pesach over here. Essentially, it's a Pesach. You can climb up. Now, what's preventing you is not the physical characteristics of it. What's preventing you from climbing up is the Yisur D'Rabbanan. So perhaps I'll say V'ariyahu d'Raviyaleh. It's only like a lion is over there. For instance, if a person had a regular ladder, a regular doorway, and there was a lion over there that was standing there, and he was scared of the lion and prevented from going there, you would still say that it's a Pesach. You would still say it's even though practically speaking he cannot go up there because he's afraid of the lion, but fundamentally in terms of the characteristics, the physical characteristics of the Chalzer and the Kaisel, there's a Pesach. There is a Pesach over there, so that perhaps, therefore, it would be valid. So we have a question both according to Rebbe and according to the Rabbanan. Next question he had, which is related. So, la'ashera sulam. If he took a tree, not a regular tree, a tree that they were oived for Avodah Zarah. Now that tree that they were oived for Avodah Zarah is also bahana. And if he used that as the ladder, mahu, what would be the din if he used an eshera for the ladder? Tiboya l'Rabbi Yehuda and Tiboya l'Rabbana. And you can ask the question both according to Rabbi Yehuda and both according to the Rabbana. Now we had a machlokes previously whether you can be kinda a shvisa in a basic kvaras. If you put the tchum in a basic kvaras, is it valid? So Rabbi Yehuda says that it's mutter to be kind of biased bisurah. He says it's valid in the basic kvaras, even though a kever is also bahana, but it's still valid because it's mutter liknais biased bisurah. The Rabbanan say you can't. However, over here in the case of Ashera, you can ask the question. It's still a shaila, both according to Rabbi Yehuda and to the Rabbanan. So Tiboiler Rav Yehuda, Tiboiler Rabbanan, Tiboiler Rabbanan, Tiboiler Rav Yehuda. Ad kan lo yikam Rav Yehuda, Hosam, Rav Yehuda only said it there, the mutter lignas bias Surah Hano, he said that it's mutter ela Hosam, the Basa, the Kanala, Erev Lein Yichali the Linter. Because over there, now this is going with one approach to the understanding of Rav Yehuda. As we'll see later in the Gemara, that there's another way to understand it, but according to this understanding of Rav Yehuda, he says that why is it mutter to be kaina the shvisa the erev in the basic forest? It's also bahana. He says because you're only kaina tchum for the sarach mitzvah. Mitzvahs lav lahanis netnu. So you're not getting a personal benefit from this. There's no personal benefit. It's mitzvahs lav lahanis netnu for the purpose of the tchum. Now afterwards, the fact that it's in a secluded area, it's in a basic forest, and the bread is protected, that the person doesn't care about. So all he wants the bread there is for his tchum, is for his erev. He doesn't care that the bread is protected in the basic forest. Therefore, he's getting no personal benefit. The only benefit he's getting is a tchum, which is a tzarech mitzvah, mitzvah lav lahanis. No, that's why it's mutter. That's why he says it's mutter. But over here, whereas perhaps it is, he would say that it's not valid, that you can't use it. Because over here, that we say that it is a personal benefit for him, that he has Erev Chatzeres, or he has a personal benefit to use the Asherah as a Pesach, and it allows him to do his personal needs over here, then maybe he would say that it's not considered, you cannot use this as a Pesach for the purposes of being mishtamish for his personal use. Or Dima fil Rabbanan. Or perhaps you can say even according to the Rabbanan. Now the Rabbanan said over there you can't be kind of the shvisa in the basic forest. Perhaps they would say over there because you're being kind of shvisa with Yisur Hano. But over here, even if you say that he can't climb the tree because of Isser Hano, it's Isser Hano, but nevertheless, there is a Pesach. It's Pischo V'ari the Raviyala. Just like we said before, physically, the characteristics of the Chotzer, there is a Pesach. There's a line that prevents you from climbing up. Nevertheless, physically, there is a Pesach, and therefore, it's considered to be that it's now has access to the top of the wall. He said, in the case of the tree, a regular tree, it's mutter, but if it's an asherah, it's asur. The way the Rashi explains is as follows. In the case of Elon, it's mutter because the isser that's involved is only a Shabbosdik isser. Is only climbing the tree, so it's only also for that day. So really, fundamentally, this is a Pesach. As far as the physical characteristics, it's a Pesach. It can be used during the week. It can only not be used on Shabbos. But Asherah, there's an Isra Hano, it can't be used at all. So something that can't be used at all, that is considered to be something which is not a Pesach. It's not a Pesach if it can never be used. Masechet Eruvin says, Adarabba. Ilan, she is a Shabbos Garim Loi. Ilan, which the Isser is a Shabbos Diki Isser, and the Isser should be also. Asherah, she is a Dover Acher Garim Loi. Loi Nitzer. But Asherah, which is not a Shabbos Diki Isser, should not be also. Now, the way we just explained according to the Rashba, it would seem to be counterintuitive. What's the pshat with that? So the way Rashi explains as follows. Ilan, which is an Isser Shabbos, there's no exception to that. It will be also Shabbos, and it will be also for every Shabbos, and there's no way to make it mutter. So it's inevitably also, and definitely, and without question, it's going to be also for Shabbos. The Asherah is not a Shabbos Degeiser. So the Asherah is not a Shabbos Degeiser. It can be relieved. It can be removed. How is that? If the Goy who was over the Avodah Zarah, if he's mevatel that, if he nullifies it from Avodah Zarah, he's mevatel it and makes it ois Avodah Zarah, then it becomes mutter ba'ano. So it can become mutter. If it can become mutter, it can become usable, and it could be a Pesach. But the Elon, the Shabbos Yisr, will never go off, and so therefore, it should be not considered a Pesach, because it will, even though it's only for one day, but it will always be Osir, and it will be unquestionably and unconditionally be Osir. So therefore, he says it should be just the opposite. Frekter the Kasha, he says, but what does that mean? An Asherah is also a tree. An Asherah has an Isra Hanor, but it also has the Isser Darabanan of Mishnamash Betri. So it has both. It has an Isra Hanor, but it also has a Shabbos Isser. So what does this mean over here? So he answers, he says, the case that we're talking about on Asherah is not a tree that's growing from the ground. The Isser, the Rabbanan of using a tree is what's growing from the ground. You might cut something off. You might be kaitzer, which is a malacha. When we say over here the Asherah, we're referring to where it's not growing from the ground, and therefore the Isser D'Rabbanan on Mishnamash B'Ilin is not applicable. And therefore the Asherah does not have a Shabbos Degeh Isser. So Itmar Nami, ki also Ravan Amar Bil'Ozer, V'Amrila Amar Vavo, Amar Rav Yechon, Kol She'Yisr Shabbos Garam Loi also. Kol She'Yisr Davar Acher, Garam Loi is muter. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Masna'achi. He learns it as follows. Elon looked at the Rebbe Rabban. The case of the tree is takets, like original assumption that it is based on the machlekes of Rebbe and the Rabbanan. The Rebbe that says that called over Shumashvusla Gozer Ben Shmashos is similarly this tree, it's accessible, it's usable Ben Shmashos, even though it's not usable for the rest of the day of Shabbos. And there are differences between this and the case of the Tchum, but nevertheless, since it is usable Ben Shmashos, it is considered a Pesach. According to the Rabbanan, where they are Geyser Shvus Ben Shmashos, it's not considered to be a Pesach. Asherah pluked to Rabbi Yehuda Rabbanan, and the Asherah, the case of Asherah, is a machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan. That according to Rabbi Yehuda, that it's muter liknais shvisa be'israhanom, then it would be a valid Pesach. According to the Rabbanan, that you can't, it's not a valid Pesach. Since it's not usable, it's not you cannot use it, it's Isra Hana, and therefore it's not considered to be a Pesach. So Taisus points out over here, he says, this is not the way we understood Rabbi Yehuda, that the way we mentioned it before, because according to the way we learned Rabbi Yehuda before, he also holds that it's also liknais b'is b'isr hana, but it's not considered to be a hana because you only make the tchum sarach mitzvah and mitzvah's level hanisnetu. And as far as the protection for the bread, he doesn't care about it. Now we're going with a different approach to Rabbi Yehuda, and the way Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak is learning it is he learns that Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's muter liknais b'is b'isur hana. That Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's muter to be liknais b'is b'isur hana. That even though it's also b'hana, this is not considered to be a hana. It's not considered to be a hana that you're getting from it. And even if it's not for the purpose of a mitzvah, it's not considered to be a hana. And therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it would be muter. Zok the Mishnah, Charitz, Shebein, Shtei Chatzeiros, if you have a ditch between two Chatzeiros, Amak Yud V'Rachav Daled, it's 10 Tvachim deep and 4 wide, then it's considered to be that these two Chatzeiros are separated. There's a ditch between them. It's considered like the two Chatzeiros are separated. They don't have access to each other, and therefore Ma'arvim Shnayim and Ve'ein Ma'arvim Echad. You can only be Ma'arv separately. They cannot join together with an Erev because they're not connected to each other. Afilu Molei Kash, and even if it's filled with kash, with stubble or with straw, Nevertheless, that's not considered to join it together. That's not considered to be a bridge, and therefore they have to be ma'ariv separately. They cannot join together. Mole offer its roirois, but if it's filled with earth or with pebbles, then that's considered to be sealing it up. That's considered to be filling it up, and then marv mechad ve'in marv shnaim. Then it's considered to be one. It's not even considered to be a pesach, a bridge. It's just that you filled the earth, and you filled it and you made it level. So it's like one level area without a mechitza between them. They're marv mechad and not shnaim. They must join together, and if they don't all join together, they're also in their own chatzeres as well. But if you put over the ditch a board which is 4 tvachim wide, then that's considered to be a pesach. There is a separation. There's a ditch. They're separated, but it has a bridge. So there, we'll see. You have the option. If you have two balconies opposite each other over the Rishus Harabim, and there's a bridge, a 4 tvachim, there's a board that you put between the two balconies, then ma'arvim shnaim, and they have an option, bim rotzim ma'arv mechad. They're separated, but there's a bridge, so they have the option. They can either be ma'arv independently or together. But if the board is less than 4 tvachim, ma'arvim shnaim ve'in ma'arv mechad, then ma'arvim shnaim and not together. It's not considered a bridge. There's no pesach between them. It's not considered to be joined. They must be ma'arav independently. Frag the Gemara, v'teven lechayetz. You're telling me in the ratio it says that if he fills the dish with straw, then it's ma'arav and shnaim ve'ein ma'arav mechad. That it's not considered to be a bridge. It doesn't fill the ditch. And Antanan, we learned the Mishnah, Matvin Sheben Shtei Chatzeres, if there's a haystack between two Chatzeres, Gavayos, or 10 Tvachim high, Marvim Shnaim, Ve'ein Ma'arv Mechon. Then they are separate. They have to be Ma'arv separately. They cannot join together. And so you see over here that if you have a haystack, that the Tevin is considered to be a separation. So why do we say that if you fill the ditch with it, it's not considered to be a bridge? Omer Abaye, le'in mechitza, as far as a mechitza is concerned, kol yama lo pligi da mechitza. It's valid, it's kosher for mechitza. A mechitza does not have to have permanence. Even if it's something that's going to be removed, but if it's something that is a separation, there's a separation between the two areas, even if it's going to eventually be removed. But right now, there's a partition between them. There's a separation between them. And therefore, it's kosher mechitza, and therefore the teven can serve as a mechitza. Avalin chatzitza, but over here to say would fill up the ground, and it's considered to be level ground and part of the ground. If he's mevatel it, he declares that he's not going to remove it. Chayitz, it closes up the ditch. But if he doesn't declare that he's not going to remove it, if he's not mevatel it, it's not chayetz, and therefore the teven that we're talking about, it's talking about a case where he's not mevatel it. En chanami, if he is mevatel it, it would be, but we're talking in a case where he's not mevatel it, and it's lo chayetz.